Hello, everyone. I have for you today a discussion on Don DeLillo's novel White Noise with a primary focus around dialogue and the presentation of fleeting moments of truth. DeLillo's world of White Noise offers the reader a localization that does not place them at a distance, but rather represents a more general, arbitrary setting that could take on any form of suburbia. Blacksmith can be representative of just about any small college town in America. As it is introduced by Jack Gladney, Blacksmith is nowhere near a large city. We don't feel threatened and aggrieved in quite the same way other towns do. We're not smack in the path of history and its contaminations. If our complaints have a focal point, it would have to be the TV set, where the outer torment lurks, causing fears and secret desires. The presented threat is that of media, of technology and its advances. Technology implicates them as being at the receiving end of an outer world. The threat on the inner world, the fixed, embedded world of the small town, is represented by technologies and other consumer-fed forces that manifest themselves through various locales. I would like to suggest, however, that the true threat for the members in this community is the dissemination of truths, the passing of knowledge, and the subjectivity of each purveyor. Each character carries with them a certain body of knowledge, a mold for their individuated truths. Dialogue between Jack and his son Heinrich, as well as with other members of Jack's family and his colleagues, demonstrate the power of information and how truth is garnered or disestablished through gathering or reaffirmation of fact or belief. To distinguish between fact and belief is to take facts or truths and either bend them to fit a predetermined, predisposed ideation or accept them as they are, as a constant, consistent, unified principle. Fact is without doubt, beliefs are refutable, but both are dependent on the basis by which the observed information was formed. In discussing the pragmatics of scientific knowledge in his work The Postmodern Condition, a Report on Knowledge, Jean-François Lyotard offers two rules, the first being that a referent is that which is susceptible to proof and can be used as evidence in debate, and the second rule being one that is metaphysical. The same referent cannot supply a plurality of contradictory or inconsistent proofs. These two rules allow a horizon of consensus to be brought to the debate between partners, the sender and the addressee. Not every consensus is a sign of truth, but it is presumed that the truth of a statement necessarily draws a consensus. Lyotard offers here ideas about dissemination of knowledge, or more specifically, when considered in the context of White Noise, the dissemination of individuated truths to form a consensus. Truth, as explored through dialogue throughout White Noise, is fleeting. A moment of clarity can have within it a moment of truth, but, as Heinrich says, is there such a thing as now? Now comes and goes as soon as you say it. And with the departure of the now, follows the absence or falsification of a prior established truth. The established discourses within the novel, the varied discussions, debates, and conversations, are variable, varietal. Each interaction carries with it a new strand of the web, intricately being woven together to denounce common formulations of narrative, involving the reader in each bit of dialogue to force a conclusion, a consensus, on the genuine meanings they are set to represent. The language games that are established between different pairings or groups of characters within this novel take on varied forms. The games are constantly being adapted to the necessary means of discussion, the goals of each conversation, whether the intentions are explicit or underlying. In the ordinary use of discourse, for example, in a discussion between two friends, the interlocutors use any available ammunition, changing games from one utterance to the next. Questions, requests, assertions, and narratives are launched pell-mell into battle. The war is not without rules, but the rules allow and encourage the greatest possible flexibility of utterance. To be literal, the conversation between two friends, between Jack and Marie Siskind, is an active example of dialogue which implies its own rules. A discourse which flexes as the games change, and the conversation diverts from statement to comment to question and repeats. Murray's assertions are constantly showing an attempt to guide Jack to reach a conclusion, to agree with him in consensus by appealing to Jack's own sense of self. He attempts to affirm his own truths by bringing Jack into agreeance. Murray is a conduit of knowledge, but for him, knowledge is a question of competence that goes beyond the simple determination and application of truth, extending to technical qualification, ethical wisdom, or auditory and visual sensibility. Jack turns to Murray for ethical wisdom, though skewed at times, not directly offering an answer, but instead leading Jack down a path of questioning. Murray offers Jack an outlet to investigate his own mind, his decisions, and their consequences. Murray acts as an intermediary between individuals' external existence and their internal desires. He is there to connect action to intention, the inner truth to the outer world. His words do not necessarily speak any truth, but he is constantly attempting to make his colleague believe them to be true, by reassuring him that his thoughts are just, that he is speaking academically, standing in as a moral mediator, a conscious observer and fellow thinker. Although what Heinrich and Murray present as truths are false in a grander scheme, they are truths nonetheless. Subjective, singular truths, but still truths. What these characters present to Jack through their interactions are momentary truths, truths that disregard their own falsification. They play with language to push toward the future, to remind Jack that the moment is passing, and truth is often subjected to the passage of time. Jack, however, is constantly dealing with his own feelings of nostalgia, unable to relieve himself of his past and previous truths. Jack's truth lies in his recounting of this story. His truth is in his narration, his truthful retelling of events, a recapitulation of the past through story.